Today we'll be talking about why we're against antibiotics in food animals, and today we'll be talking about that with Jose Vargas.
Jesus Flores.
And Mariah Ramirez.
And we are part of Animal Science 67, Animals and Society.
Hello, I'm Mariah Ramirez, and I will be talking about history and background. The history of agriculture and antibiotics begins with the synthetic sulfamides. A new age of chemotherapy was brought by the prostol and other frequently closely related sulfamides before the end of the decade. Agriculture was also exposed to the drugs beginning in 1938. Pronosil and other sulfamides, such as sulfadine, were sold for use in animals in Britain. Biological antibiotics, as they would later be known, were also quickly accepted. Gramicidine was used to treat a widespread mastitis outbreak in 1940. Over time, researchers began to notice that the widespread use of antibiotics in agriculture was contributing to the emergence of antibiotic-resistant bacteria. These bacteria could potentially be transmitted to humans through the food supply, directly contact with animals, or environmental pathways like manure runoff. The primary concern is that bacteria resistance to antibiotics could infect humans, making infections harder or even impossible to treat. Resistant strains of bacteria such as Salmonella, E. coli, and Campylobacter that are commonly found in food animals have become a major concern for food safety and public health.
Cultural and sociological importances. The widespread use of antibiotics in food-producing animals goes beyond a scientific concern. It closely linked to cultural norms and sociological pressure. In many regions, the routine use of antibiotics in livestock is driven largely by economic factors. Farmers face intensive pressure to maximize production and keep the meat affordable for consumers, for which often leads to administration of antibiotics to promote faster growth and prevent disease in crowded industrial farming conditions. This practice is widely accepted and even expected in many parts of the world as a way to ensure a steady, affordable food supply. However, this reliance of antibiotics in agriculture has significant public health risks, particularly the rise of antibiotics-resistant bacteria. When antibiotics are used extensively in animals, bacteria can develop resistance, and these resistant strains can be transmitted to humans through food, water, and environment, making infections more difficult to treat. The potential consequences of these practices are substantial, affecting current and future generations' ability to combat bacterial infections. We must reconsider our cultural attitudes towards food production and consumption. To address these complex issues, a shift is needed towards more sustainability farming practices to prioritize the health of both animals and humans. This includes the use of antibiotics to necessarily therapeutic cases and investing in alternative methods of disease prevention in livestock, such as improved hygiene, better living conditions, and vaccinations. Raising awareness about these issues among concerns and promoting a demand for responsible produced meat can drive meaningful changes. Ultimately, safeguarding public health requires a collective effort emphasizing the prudent use of antibiotics and supporting sustainable agricultural practices to ensure a healthier future for all. Ethical aspect. The ethical argument against using antibiotics in food-producing animals centers on our collective responsibility to combat antimicrobial resistance, a serious threat to global health. Overusing the antibiotics in animals not only impact animal welfare but also possesses significant risk to human health. Resistant bacteria can transfer from animals to to humans, making infections more challenging to treat and diminishing the effect of life-saving antibiotics. Ethically, that raises a critical question. Should we prioritize immediate agricultural gains like increased production and profit over long-term public health? By continuing the widespread use of antibiotics in agriculture, we risk compromising the effectiveness of drugs for everyone, including future generations. Reducing antibiotic use in livestock isn't a scientific recommendation, it's a moral obligation to protect public health. Shifting to more sustainable and responsible practices in animal farming is essential. These could mean only using antibiotics when necessary for animals and finding alternative methods to prevent diseases, such as better hygiene, improved animal welfare, and vaccination. Ultimately, the ethical responsibility to address AMR goes beyond individual interest and requires a collective effort to preserve antibiotic effectiveness, ensuring that these critical medications remain a viable treatment option for both human and animal in the years to come.
Current events. Meat industry is responsible for 73% of antibiotic use, leading to rise in human deaths from antibacterial resistance. Regulation curbs antibiotic use by animals in richer countries, particularly in Europe. Greater animal protein consumption in low and middle income countries, driving a surge in antibiotic use. In U.S., only use of antibiotics as growth promoters banned.
This is Seuss, and this topic is about the loss of consumer trust in food systems, the growth of antibiotic bacteria in meat and other animal products build worries about food-related illness that are harder to cure. Children and elderly people are more at risk, and these infections can result in serious problems with health and even death. This has caused many customers to question the safety of what types of products they may buy. Many consumers could stay away from certain brands or types of meat, poultry, and dairy products due to fears of antibiotic bacteria that could get caused around their family or friends. Why should we be against antibiotics in foods? The long-term results of antibiotics in food animals plays an important role, causing some danger for both animal and human health. We would have to make sure that we can provide better treatments that are still effective for these types of disease, to be able to lower the risk of it spreading through humans. Therefore, by maintaining the right use of antibiotics, we lower the needs of more expensive treatments that protect future possibilities. This also benefits animal health and welfare, so that animals can keep in food production without needing a lot of antibiotics. Lastly, limiting antibiotics in food animals creates less problems for us humans and keeps us away from having to get treated or possibly not making it out alive. Reducing antibiotics in food animals. Reduce antibiotics use promotes healthier animals, better farming practices, and the natural balance of microbial communities, of all which contributes to safer food production and more resilient agriculture systems. Limiting antibiotic uses decreases the contaminations of soil and water with residues and resistant bacteria, protecting our ecosystems. Finally, as consumers, they become more informed and demand antibiotic-free products. Implementing these practices can help to foster consumer trust and ethical farming.
Reasons to be against antibiotics in food animal. Prevent diseases in healthy animals. Some types of bacteria can cause serious infections in humans. Overuse of antibiotics in animals can contribute to the emergence of antibiotic resistance, says Dr. Kazuki Migashami, Director of Department of Food Safety and Zoonoses at WHO. Concerns regarding the morality and safety of using antibiotics on food animals are growing among consumers because of antibiotic residues and the possibility of antibiotic resistance bacteria entering the food chain. The extensive use of antibiotics can erode consumer confidence in the safety of meat, dairy, and poultry products. In order to minimize potential hazards, more customers are choosing antibiotic-free or raised without antibiotic products. And there is a growing desire for openness in food production techniques. The opposition to antibiotics in food animals is based on the serious risks they pose to human health, the environment, and animal welfare. Reducing their use is seen as a crucial to preventing the further spread of antibiotic resistance and ensuring the long-term safety and sustainability of food production.
Informed opinion and summary. The use of antibiotics, especially in food animals, is significantly driven in the rise of drug-resistant bacteria, a serious concern for public health. Although the path for antibiotic use in agricultural to resistance to human pathogen is complex, the connection is clear. When antibiotics are routinely given to animals raised for food, it encourages the growth of bacteria that can resist these antibiotics, which then poses a major health to treat humans. Bacteria don't stay isolated; they spread through food, water, and environment. When people consume products from animals treated with antibiotics, they may be exposed to resistant bacteria, making infections harder to treat. This results in prolonged illnesses, increased hospitalizations, and in severe cases, higher mortality rates. Common infections that were once easily treated are now becoming more complicated and dangerous due to the resistance. Although it's a challenging and quantitative exactly how much agricultural antibiotics use contributes to the overall problem compared to human medicine, it's clear that it's significantly worsened the issue. For this reason, it's essential to use antibiotics in animal agriculture only when necessary, reducing the risk of resistance and helping to preserve effectiveness of antibiotics for human health. And we have our works cited page as well.